Hi, for those of you who don't know, my name is Caleb Raymond, and I've been working with Foster Church for the past couple of weeks or so, and I'm going to continue working with them for this semester, just providing you guys with some content to watch on Sabbath, or honestly, whenever you don't have to watch it on Sabbath. But so this week, I'm going to be talking a little bit about what happened in the beginning of my quarantine and how that affected me. So before we get started, let's say a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day. Thank you so much for the opportunity to sit here, open up my phone, open up the videos, and just talk about you. Talk about how you've impacted my life. Talk about the grace and the love that you've given to me in my life. And God, I pray that you bestow that same grace, love, mercy, and peace into the lives of everyone who's watching this video and everyone who's not watching this video, honestly, because we all need it, Lord. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen. All right, so I'm human. Obviously, I'm human. We're human. We're all human. If you're watching this, you're probably human. I don't know, you might be a cat, but you wouldn't understand what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm human. You're human. We're all human. And one thing that all humans have in common is we love to plan. I really feel like humans spend way too much of their time planning. But then again, you have people like Benjamin Franklin, who is quoted to be saying, failing to plan is planning to fail. And so planning is drilled within our culture, within our society, and within our everyday lives. We plan about everything. And if you don't believe me, go look at Pinterest. Go look at one of your friends' Pinterest and see if they have a wedding board. See if they have a life board, a house board. Like, that is a form of us planning. We're like, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this. I'm not saying that that's bad. In fact, I think that's pretty good. I should probably have a house Pinterest board because I have no clue what my future house is going to look like. But the reason I'm saying this is because we as humans, we love to plan. But a lot of times our plans don't really come through. And so what do you do when that happens? You see, I had a glorious plan for this year. 2020 was going to be my year, okay? Back in 2019, when was it? It was around Thanksgiving time. I had a friend, Adam Angel's his name. We were just sitting around at his house, and he got on his laptop and he looked up tickets to Iceland. He found tickets to Iceland for $300 from Washington, D.C. So I took my phone and I posted on my story. I was like, all right. And I posted one of those polls, like yes or no. I was like, do me and Adam send this trip to Iceland in January of 2020? I posted it on my story, and like 95% of people that voted said yes. So I was like, you know what? Full send. Right there, we bought the tickets. They were like $320, and we both just like went into our savings, pulled money out, and bought the tickets. We didn't even know where we were going to stay, what we were going to do. We just like bought the tickets and we're going to figure everything else out. Oh, hi, Rachel.
How you doing?
This is Rachel. She's cool. I'm recording a video for Sabbath School.
Oh. Hi.
Anyway, so me and Adam, we bought the tickets. We splurged, we went into our savings, got the tickets, and then we planned the rest of the trip around the fact that we were actually going. Now, because I would spend the first month of the year in a different country, I decided that 2020 was going to be my year of traveling. So during spring, I had lined up a trip to Morocco. I was going to go to Morocco with a trip from my school. It was going to be incredible. I was super excited. During summer, I was going to go to Israel. I was going to spend, 6 weeks in Israel studying Hebrew 1 and 2. I was super excited for that. Apparently Friday nights at the West Wall in Jerusalem is just incredible. Jewish people really know how to bring in the Sabbath, and I love that. And I was so excited to experience that culture. And then this semester, I was going to go to Italy and study abroad in Italy. I was super excited to learn how to make pasta in Italy. I was super excited to go see all the sites in Italy and learn the culture and meet new people. I had a friend that lives in Italy, or still have a friend that lives in Italy, so I was super excited to go see them and reconnect with them. That was my plan. 2020 was going to be my year of traveling. And I remember the day that year kind of fell apart. It was it was a Thursday, I believe, either a Thursday or a Wednesday. And it was a day before I left for Morocco. I woke up a little bit earlier that morning, like around 8 o'clock. Took a shower and packed a little bit. And then one of my best friends, Callie, she texted me and was like, hey, you want to go get some Starbucks? I was like, yeah, I'm always down for coffee. So I walked outside, hopped in her car. We were just talking. We got to Starbucks in the drive-thru, and then she like gasps. And I look over at Callie and I was like, are you good? And she turns her phone to me, and it's an email. It's an email from Southern saying that that spring we were not going to come back to school after March. They basically said, bring your books, pack your rooms, we're not coming back to school. And I was like, dude, what? And I look at my email and I get another email from UQuest, the trip that I was going on to Morocco, and they say, sorry, cancel. Literally the day before I left, one of our groups was already in the airport. They were about to load the plane to go to Peru, and they had to turn around and come back to Southern from Atlanta. It was like mind-boggling. While I was sitting in the car with Callie, we both called the rest of our friends. Like, everything was wildly hectic. We called our parents. I remember talking to my dad about it, and my dad was like, no way, like, actually, this is happening. What had happened is the night before President Trump had released, it was the day that President Trump had said that declared COVID-19 a state of national emergency. And so things just started shutting down. We went into lockdown, we went into quarantine, and we went into those stay-at-home orders, and it was a crazy, crazy, wild time. And I remember it was really tough on me for one particular reason. I had made this year, 2020, to be incredible. I had gotten accepted into the ACA program into Israel. I was so stoked to go. I had gotten accepted, obviously, to go to Morocco. I was gonna go to Morocco. I was working on getting into Italy. I had already been to Iceland. This was gonna be my year to experience a majority of different cultures that I've never seen before in my life. And I was so excited for it. And then when that cancellation came through, when school got canceled, when my trips got canceled, when restaurants closed, when I drove on the road and I didn't see anyone, I realized that my plans were so fleeting. I realized that I can, and I did spend my time planning for nothing. And that was hard. That was tough for me because I had this image of what my future was going to look like. I can't exactly describe it to you, but I had this particular image. I was going to graduate, I was going to get married, I was going to have kids, I was going to pastor a church, You know what I mean? I had this future Caleb that I had set up in my head. And this future Caleb had become a friend of mine. And I loved this future Caleb. And when COVID hit, and when all of my plans were just shot to the wayside, I realized how fleeting plans are. And I realized that future Caleb was a Caleb that didn't exist yet. And it was a Caleb that isn't going to exist because I don't know what the future holds. And so I had made this future Caleb so important to me that when I realized that wasn't going to be me in the future, I had to grieve that process. It was almost like I lost someone, and it sucked. I was so upset at God for taking away my opportunity to go to Morocco, for taking away Israel from me, for taking away Italy from me. I don't know if I'm going to get to go to those places anymore. And it really, really sucked. I found myself thinking about, when I was thinking about sharing this story, I found myself thinking about a Bible character that had a plan. His name was Joseph. In Genesis chapter 37, Joseph comes to his brothers, and his brothers don't really like him, right? He's kind of a brat. He's kind of their dad likes Joseph more than they like them. And so there's already like animosity between Joseph and his brothers. And Joseph rolls up to his brothers and he's like, hey, just so you know, I had a dream. Y'all are going to bow down to me in the future. And so with this dream, Joseph had made this plan for his head, and he made it look like, yeah, I'm going to go to my brothers, I'm going to let them know, they're going to be like dope, and then a couple years in the future, something's going to happen, I'm going to become a king, and they're going to bow down to me, right? He had this plan, and it seemed infallible to him, just like my future plans, just like going to Israel, Italy, or Morocco seemed like it was untouchable to me. Joseph had this plan. He thought that he was untouchable because he had the dream that his brothers were going to bow down to him. But you see, his brothers didn't see it like that. If you recall the story in Genesis chapter, it's still chapter 37, I think. Yeah, in Genesis chapter 37, his brothers were not thrilled. They were not having a fun time thinking about bowing down to Joseph, a boy who was pampered by their father, who was always being shown favoritism, and they were tired of it. They were done with it. And so what they did is they took Joseph and they threw him into a pit. And when I think about Joseph in the pit, I think about me in quarantine. I had all these plans for my future, all these plans for my year. Joseph had all these plans for his future, all these plans for his life. His brothers were going to bow down to him. I was going to go to Morocco. I was going to go to Italy. I was going to go to Israel. His brothers were literally going to bow down to him as if he was above them, even though he was younger than all of them. And while Joseph was sitting in his pit, he realized that his plan didn't make sense. He didn't know what to do about it. And while I was sitting in my quarantine, I realized that my plans were gone. They were dead. And I did not know what to do about it. But you see, God doesn't leave us in our pits. In the New Testament, it says, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord. When I talk about Joseph, when I think about Joseph, I think about a man whose core is God. At the basis of who he is, if you look at his story, after going to Potiphar's house, being shut down, after going to the prison, and then being forgotten about, no matter where he was in his life, he was torn down from everything, and what he would come back to was God. And so while he was in the pit, everything else was torn away from him. The coat of many colors was torn away from him. His plans of the future was torn away from him. But while he was sitting in that pit, what he had was God, and only God. And I think that God uses pits to show us that our plans are failing and to reveal his plan that has purpose. My pit was quarantine. Joseph's pit was a real pit. We know how the story of Joseph ends. Joseph works hard. Joseph trusts God. He listens to the Lord. And he grows more powerful than anyone else. He becomes the second most powerful man in the entire world because of how he served how he served Pharaoh. And his brothers come to him asking for food, and they end up bowing down to him. And in that moment, Joseph goes back to that dream, that plan that he had. And he thinks, this is so different than what I thought my plan was going to be like. For me, my pit was quarantine. Like I said, I'm an extremely extroverted person. I love people. And so the fact that I was locked in my house and couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything, nothing was open, I was just sitting there thinking about how my plans got ruined. It was really tough for me. But now, in the months of September, when I look back into the month of March, into the month of May, I see that in my pit, God took me and gave me his plan for my life instead of my plan, which is so much better than I could have imagined. You see, in the summer, because I wasn't in Israel, I was able to be the worship director at the kids camp at APCS with Jake Miller. Through that opportunity, his mother, Miss Erin Miller, the principal at APCS, hired me for the semester to be a Bible teacher and a PE teacher. And through that opportunity, I was able to work closely with Pastor Courtney at Foster Church. And I'm so excited for Pastor Patrick to come back and to learn about his time in the Appalachian? You know what I'm talking about, the AT. I'm so excited to learn about his time on the AT, but further than that, I'm so excited to have him mentor me and to listen to what he has to say about church leadership, which is something that I'm going to be doing in the future, and I look up to him. And if I had gone to Israel and hadn't gone with Jake to APCS, I wouldn't be here. If I'd gone to Italy, I wouldn't be here. You see, those plans that I had, they weren't bad. I definitely don't think they were bad. But the plans that God had were so much better. And if I wasn't thrown into the pit of quarantine, if COVID-19 didn't happen, I would not be here. And I would not be living in God's plan. And so I want to challenge you to think about where you're at in your plans. Are you before your pit? Are you in your pit? Are you after your pit? Where are you? I want you to say a prayer. I want you to say, God, I have these plans, and reveal your plans to God. And I want you to say, and I want you to ask God to reveal to you where you're at. Are your plans all rainbows and lollipops because you haven't been in a pit yet and you haven't had your plans ruined? Or are you in a pit? Are you looking at your plans and saying, God, how could you rip these away from me? Or are you after your pit when you see, God, I see exactly why you ripped those plans away from me. I want you to recognize where you are, and I want you to thank God for being where you are, because his plans are always in motion and they are always better than ours. Thank you. Have a great day.